Okay, so we're going to talk about updating. There's really two categories of updates. There's either replacing or there's updating. You can update one or update many documents, but it's really replace or update. So we're going to talk about replace first. Actually, before I get started there, let's go over this stuff up here. I've got a client, I've got our database, I've got a collection. We're going to use test database and widgets collection. And I'm going to immediately drop this collection so that I can keep running this over and over. And then I'm going to insert a bunch of docs. So I'm going to create docs from 0 to 9 that have an ID equal to 0. So it'll be ID 0, X0, ID 1, X1. And then we'll insert those and then I'll print those out. So let's just run this so you can see. So 0, 0, 1, 1 all the way up to 9. So let's say I want to replace the document at number 5. That ID is 5. So we'll do this. So there will be a result here, but a collection dot replace one async. And which one do I want to replace? Well, this is a filter definition as before. So I could specify a string or a BSIN document. So let's use a BSIN document here and say, hey, I want to replace the one where X is 5. Actually, let's not replace X5. Let's replace ID 5. And I want to replace it with a new BSIN document where ID is still 5 and where X is 30. And that's it. Let's format that a little better. And so what I should see is that ID 5 has been replaced with the 30 document. So here's 0011444530. Okay? So this is very important when you're doing replacements. You can't change IDs. So I can't say replace ID 5 with a document of ID 6. That doesn't work. Okay? So I have to replace them with the same IDs. And so if you happen to not care about the IDs and you want to use something like X here, then I just need to leave the ID out of the replacement document. And so X is 30 here, and I just leave that out, and this will replace the document that matched here. And sure enough, it does, and the ID stayed the same as 30. Okay? If the document happens to not exist, so for instance, X is 10, and I want to replace it with X30, this won't do anything. How do you know it didn't do anything? Well, let's put a breakpoint right down here and let's look at this result. So what we'll see in this result is that we'll see that the result was acknowledged, that we have a modified count available, and that we modified nothing. We also matched nothing. And note here that there's no upserted ID. Nothing actually got upserted at all. So that's important because what if we actually want to do something here? Well, we have another method here that we can do new update operations. So is upsert is true. And so what we'll see then is that we now have a result where we still match nothing, we modified nothing, and I've got this object ID here instead of an integer because we didn't provide one. And when we print this out to the console, we'll notice that ID 0099, and then, we have an object ID. That's because the server has generated this object ID for us. We didn't do it here. The server did it, and it doesn't know that we want an integer. So if you care about the identifiers, then you're going to need to specify them in the upserts. So that's replace. Let's move on to updates. And by the way, you can use the filter definition builders. So builders sub BSIN document dot filter dot equals X is 5. Right, so this will work the same way. Just to prove it, we'll go ahead and print this out, and sure enough, here's ID 5 and it gets 30. So let's talk about updates then. So collection dot, we have update 1 and update many async. Let's talk about update 1 first. Update 1 takes a filter definition followed by an update definition. So let's go ahead and leave this there, and instead of this we can use our update syntax. So it's a lot like the filter syntax. There's operators and they're dollar operators. So I want to increment X by 10. Okay? And let's get rid of these options at the end. They're the same for update and replace. So I want to find the document where X is 5, and I want to increment its X value by 10. So what I should see is 15 there next. So in this case, we matched 1 and we modified 1. And so here we go. So we have, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 15, because it used to be 5 and we incremented it by 10. So there's a lot of these operators, and you don't have to memorize them because we have builders for those as well. So builders of BSIN document dot update. And so if I want to increment X by 5, then I can use the inc method. And sure enough, we still get the same thing there. So what are some of the other ones in here? Increment max. So take the max of a field or the new thing, multiply, and then there's some array related operators. I'm not going to go over all these. documentation on the MongoDB website is excellent. So, and then of course if I wanted to do update many, then let's specify a greater than filter. So GT. So where x is greater than 5, then I want to increment x by 10. Okay? Actually, real quickly, let's do update 1 just to show you that even though we matched more than 1, we still only incremented 1. So we only incremented 6 and it went up to 16. But if I do update many, then we're going to see it incremented all the ones where x is greater than 5. So 16, 17, 18, 19. So we went ahead and handled all of those. So this obviously works with other things. I've got widget down here where I've got ID and I've got this bcin element mapped to x. So big X will get rendered into the database as little x, and then I've got a toString method to print that out. So let's change this to widget. And I'm going to need to do a new widget here where ID equals I and X equals I. And then we'll go ahead and insert those. So now I need to change these to widgets. And so this is all still going to work just fine. It should work exactly like it just did, except now we've got strong typing on it. And the output looks a little different, but 6 and 16, 17, 18, 19, right? Okay. That's because I use this little element name here. I haven't actually talked about this quite yet, so I can go ahead and talk about it now. Is that when you use the typed builders here, or link, the kind of expression tree link methods, then we actually respect these bcin element attributes. And since we know you're using a widget, a strongly typed widget, I can even specify the property name as a string here and go ahead and run this, and things will still work out properly. So I still actually incremented the little x values to the database, even though I used a big string. And then of course we can do this too, x.x, and actually specify it not as a string, but as an expression, so we get refactoring support. And there we go, so 16, 17, 18, and 19. And of course, when we're using filters, then we always have this opportunity. X is greater than 5. We don't have any similar syntax, expression tree syntax for updates. So that works. One more thing is that you can chain these together. So I want to increment x by 10, and I want to set j to 20. And note that j isn't in our widget class at all, but we're still going to go ahead and let that go through, assuming, presumably, you know what you're doing. So we're not going to freak out about this. Or maybe we will freak out about this. We are freaking out about that. Actually not in the saving side of things, but in the reverse side of things. Because when we're trying to read, in this particular thing, we're trying to read widgets, we're seeing that, hey, j doesn't exist. So I can either add j, or I can say, hey, bcin ignore extra elements, because j is something that we don't care about, we don't want to read at all here. So if I go ahead and run this again, then we get that back, and if we were to look in the database, so db.widgets.find, we'll make those pretty as well, then we'll see that, hey, all of these have j as 20 as well. So that's updates.